For centuries, mankind has unearthed the remnants of civilizations lost to time. But with every discovery, new questions emerge, questions that science cannot yet answer. Beneath the surface of our world, there are secrets that defy explanation. What ancient power carved the stones of Pumapunku with such precision, long before technology was thought to exist? Who were the builders of the Great Pyramids, and how did they achieve feats that still baffle engineers today? From the enigma of Stonehenge to the cryptic lines of the Nazca Desert, these mysteries invite us to look deeper, beyond what we know, and into what we don't. Join us as we delve into 1 hour of archaeological puzzles that challenge everything we thought we understood. Beneath the golden light of the Egyptian sun, a city long believed to be lost to time has re-emerged, its secrets slowly rising from the dust of centuries. The lost golden city of Luxor, sometimes called the Rise of Aten, or the Lost City of the Pharaohs, was uncovered in 2020 by an excavation team led by Dr. Zahi Hawass, one of Egypt's most renowned archaeologists. It lies just a few miles from the famous Valley of the Kings, where the tombs of Egypt's pharaohs are carefully preserved. The city itself, though long forgotten by most, is anything but ordinary. Stretching over a vast expanse, its streets, houses, and even personal belongings are astonishingly well preserved. As the sand and earth parted to reveal these remnants, it was as though a snapshot of life from more than 3,000 years ago had been caught in mid-motion. The walls of homes, still standing after millennia, whisper stories of a prosperous and thriving civilization. Fragments of pottery, rings, and tools lay scattered like a forgotten story waiting to be told. This is no typical archaeological find. Unlike the royal tombs or monumental temples that have long captured the world's imagination, the lost Golden City was a place of everyday life. It was a city not just of the elite, but of artisans, workers, and traders who built the very foundations of ancient Egypt's grandeur. It is said to have been established during the reign of Amenhotep III, around 1400 BCE, one of Egypt's most powerful pharaohs. It was a time of immense prosperity and peace, as Egypt enjoyed wealth, cultural flourishing, and vast influence across the ancient world. Yet the city, though once vibrant, was abandoned shortly after Amenhotep III's reign, likely overshadowed by the rise of his successor, Akhenaten, whose radical religious reforms and the construction of a new capital, Akhetaten, modern-day Amarna, led to the city's decline. Despite its extraordinary preservation, the lost Golden City remains an enigma. While the physical objects found within its boundaries are remarkable, it is the absence of direct documentation or clear historical context that makes it so mysterious. Why was the city abandoned so suddenly? Was it a shift in political or religious ideology? Did an economic downturn drive its people away? Or did some natural catastrophe, like a devastating flood or drought, cause its decline? What makes the discovery even more perplexing is the idea that this city, once a bustling center of life, was hidden for so long. The sands of time had seemingly buried it in plain sight, right under the noses of those who had walked the area for centuries. Could it be that it was intentionally concealed, perhaps to protect it from invasion or looting? Or is there another, deeper reason why it had vanished from memory? One of the most intriguing aspects of the discovery is what it suggests about Egypt's vast urban landscape during the New Kingdom period. The lost Golden City may have been just one of many such places, now waiting to be uncovered beneath the shifting desert. What other hidden cities lie beneath the layers of time? And could they hold answers to questions we have yet to ask? Some have speculated that the lost Golden City is a clue to understanding not only the life of ordinary Egyptians, but the nature of their rulers, their religious practices, and their place in the wider world. Was this city a hub for royal projects, such as the construction of the tombs of the Valley of the Kings, as some archaeologists suggest? Or could it have played a role in the larger religious shifts of the time, as Akhenaten's revolutionary monotheistic cult of Atan was taking hold? Artifacts unearthed in the city, including inscribed rings bearing the name of Amenhotep III, tantalizingly link it directly to the pharaoh's court. But still, much remains unclear. Were these the homes of the common people, or was this a center for elite artisans who worked on royal projects? Did the residents know of the monumental events unfolding in Egypt at the time, or were they isolated, unaware of the political upheaval that would eventually sweep them away? As more excavations continue, more pieces of the puzzle will inevitably be revealed. Yet, for now, the lost Golden City remains a mysterious chapter in the history of ancient Egypt. Its true purpose, its sudden fall, and its long-silenced story still waiting to be fully uncovered. What more might lie hidden beneath the sands, awaiting discovery? And perhaps most pressing of all, what other secrets does Egypt still hold untouched, waiting for those willing to dig into the past? As we move from the sands of Egypt to the dense jungles of Central America, another mystery emerges from the shadows of ancient history, one that involves not stone, but crystal. The crystal skulls, a collection of intricately carved skulls made from clear and opaque quartz, have fascinated archaeologists, historians, and even those with more esoteric interests for over a century. Found in various locations across Central America, these skulls are not only visually striking, but their origin and purpose remain cloaked in uncertainty. The most famous of these skulls was discovered in the early 20th century, when explorer Frederick Mitchell Hedges unearthed a perfectly carved crystal skull in 1924 in what was believed to be the ancient Maya city of Lubantun in Belize. At first glance, the skull's lifelike quality is what captures the imagination: the smooth, polished surface, the finely detailed features, and the almost eerie sense that it is something more than just a relic from a long-lost civilization. The skull is remarkable not just for its clarity and craftsmanship, but for its curious, almost unnatural precision. Some researchers have noted that it appears to have been carved with a level of technology that would not be expected of pre-Columbian societies. For decades, this particular skull was displayed in museums, sparking awe and intrigue. However, questions soon arose. How could a culture that lacked advanced tools carve such a delicate and complex object from solid quartz? Quartz is notoriously difficult to work with, and the level of precision involved in creating a skull with such fine details, down to the teeth and the sutures in the skull, seems almost impossible given the technology of the time. The Maya, known for their mastery in areas like astronomy and mathematics, left no records indicating any knowledge of crystal carving, much less the ability to work with a material as challenging as quartz. The mystery deepened as more crystal skulls began to surface. Some were found in private collections, others in archaeological digs across the region. While each of these skulls varied in size, shape, and quality, they all shared certain key features: their skull-like form, the use of quartz, and their remarkable craftsmanship. But one thing they did not share was a clear origin story. Some skulls were claimed to be from the ancient Maya, while others were attributed to different pre-Columbian cultures, such as the Aztec or the Olmec. Yet, despite these claims, there was little to no definitive archaeological evidence linking these skulls to any specific culture. To make matters more perplexing, many of these skulls have been dated by various methods, some radiocarbon dated to thousands of years old, while others are believed to be more modern creations, possibly originating in the 19th or 20th centuries. This discrepancy has led to fierce debates within the academic community. Some scholars argue that the skulls are modern forgeries, crafted by artisans with a certain level of skill, and perhaps even a deep knowledge of ancient art forms. Others suggest that the skulls are genuine ancient artifacts, created by civilizations whose knowledge of crystal and the metaphysical properties of quartz has been lost to time. The most compelling argument for their authenticity comes from those who claim that the Maya and other pre-Columbian societies may have possessed secret knowledge or even lost technologies that we are yet to fully understand. Could the skulls have been tools or ritual objects, possibly used in ceremonies to connect with the spiritual world? Some believe the skulls may have been part of ancient rituals related to death and the afterlife, acting as symbolic representations of ancestral spirits. Others suggest they were intended to serve as conduits for some kind of metaphysical or energetic power, harnessing the natural properties of quartz to focus or amplify spiritual energy. Still, other theories venture into even more speculative territory, suggesting that the crystal skulls may not have been created by human hands at all. Could they be remnants of an ancient, advanced civilization, far more advanced than we give the Maya or other ancient peoples credit for? There are those who claim that the skulls have extraterrestrial origins, suggesting that they were either created by or gifted to ancient civilizations by beings from other worlds. The idea that the skulls hold some kind of cosmic significance, potentially acting as keys to unlock hidden knowledge or even as communication devices for extraterrestrial intelligence, has captivated the imaginations of many. In contrast, more grounded theories suggest that the skulls are simply high-quality craftsmanship by ancient artisans who had mastered the art of working with hard stones, possibly using primitive tools and techniques that we do not fully understand today. Some researchers point to the possibility that these skulls were made using a technique known as lapidary, where abrasives like sand were used to slowly grind away at the quartz until it took shape. But even this theory faces its own set of questions. How could such detailed, lifelike features have been achieved using only rudimentary tools? And why do some of the skulls show signs of having been carved with methods not seen in any known pre-Columbian civilization? The discrepancy between the perceived technological capabilities of the ancient peoples of Central America and the intricate nature of the crystal skulls raises even more questions. While we know that the Maya and other cultures were highly skilled in many areas, astronomy, mathematics, and architecture, for instance, there is no concrete evidence to suggest they had the tools or techniques to create something as refined and precise as the crystal skulls. Yet, there are whispers of lost knowledge, of a time when the ancients had access to technologies far beyond what we can imagine today. Could the crystal skulls be more than just artifacts? Could they be symbols, relics of a forgotten age, or even vessels containing knowledge from a civilization that fell into obscurity long before our understanding of history began? The debate rages on. As the years pass and the crystal skulls continue to intrigue, they remain enigmatic objects, full of possibilities, yet devoid of clear answers. With each discovery, the mysteries only deepen. Who made them? How did they do it? And why? In the end, perhaps the most profound mystery lies not in the skulls themselves, but in what they represent. A glimpse into a forgotten past, where knowledge, art, and perhaps even the boundaries of human capability stretched far beyond what we can currently understand. As we continue to search for answers, one question remains. What is hidden, still, in the crystal-clear depths of these ancient objects? From the dense jungles of Central America, we now turn our attention to a mysterious chapter in American history, one that has intrigued historians, archaeologists, and storytellers for centuries. The lost colony of Roanoke, a vanished settlement in the remote wilderness of what is now North Carolina, represents one of the earliest and most baffling disappearances in American history. In 1587, a group of English settlers, led by John White, established a colony on Roanoke Island, hoping to create a foothold for the English Empire in the New World. The colony was not the first to attempt settlement in the Americas. However, this particular venture was marked by hardship and uncertainty from the very beginning. The settlers, numbering around 115 men, women, and children, faced immediate challenges: hostile relations with the indigenous populations, scarce resources, and an environment that proved to be much harsher than anticipated. Yet it wasn't until John White, the colony's governor, made an urgent voyage back to England for supplies that things took an even more mysterious turn. White's return trip to England, delayed by a war with Spain, did not come until 1590, 3 years after he had left. When he arrived back at Roanoke Island, he found the colony completely abandoned, with no sign of the settlers. The only clue to their fate was a single word carved into a post: Croatoan, the name of a nearby island inhabited by a local Native American tribe. What happened to the settlers? Where did they go? The mystery of Roanoke has confounded researchers for centuries, with theories ranging from the plausible to the wildly speculative. But the absence of definitive evidence leaves many questions unanswered and continues to spark debate to this day. The immediate response of White and the crew that accompanied him was to search the surrounding area, but they found no trace of the settlers. Their homes were gone, as were their personal belongings. The only sign of life was the word Croatoan, carved into a post and later found in a tree, but no explanation accompanied it. The settlers had vanished as if they had never existed. For some, the Croatoan carving was a sign that the settlers had moved to the nearby island of the same name, hoping to be taken in by the Croatoan people, who had been somewhat friendly with the colony during White's earlier stay. But this theory has its own set of complications. White and his crew made no attempt to go to Croatoan Island in search of the settlers. Why would they leave such an important clue and not follow up on it? Furthermore, when later expeditions did visit the island, they found no trace of the colonists, nor did the Croatoan people have any knowledge of the missing settlers. As historians and archaeologists piece together the fragments of this unsolved mystery, a number of theories have emerged. Some suggest that the settlers may have been assimilated into local Native American tribes, either voluntarily or forcibly. The Croatoan tribe itself is often named in these speculations, though no definitive evidence has ever been found to prove this. Other theories suggest that the settlers may have attempted to sail to another location, perhaps further up the coast, but were lost at sea in a storm. Yet no wreckage or sign of the ill-fated journey has ever been uncovered. Another theory proposes that the settlers perished in a violent conflict with the local Native American tribes. Early settlers in the area had experienced conflict with indigenous peoples, and tensions could have escalated over the years. But again, there is no archaeological evidence of such a battle, and no physical remains of the settlers have ever been found. In addition to these more grounded theories, there are more speculative ideas that have entered the conversation, each adding a layer of intrigue to the enigma. One of the more sensational suggestions is that the settlers may have been taken by some kind of supernatural force, perhaps a portal to another dimension, or some kind of cosmic event that whisked them away. While this idea falls squarely in the realm of fiction, it nonetheless speaks to the enduring fascination with the mystery of Roanoke. Could the colony's disappearance be tied to something beyond human understanding? An event or force so strange that it has never been replicated or explained? And then there's the theory that has persisted for centuries, that the colony didn't vanish at all, but simply integrated itself into the landscape. Some suggest that the settlers survived, but were so altered by their time in the wilderness, both physically and culturally, that they were no longer recognizable as the original English settlers. Could they have lived on in secret, their descendants scattered among Native American tribes? Some accounts of later encounters with Native American groups describe people with European features, leading some to speculate that the settlers could have intermarried with local tribes, passing down their legacy through generations, though there's no definitive evidence to support this. Over time, the mystery of Roanoke has only deepened. Excavations of the area have yielded artifacts, but none of them point to the colony's fate. Every clue seems to raise more questions than it answers. The final fate of the Roanoke settlers remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. The word Croatoan remains the only definitive clue that has survived, yet its meaning is still elusive. Was it a simple message left by the settlers to indicate their relocation, or did it mean something more, something still beyond our understanding? Was it a sign of hope or a warning? The lack of definitive evidence leaves the door open for speculation, and the disappearance of Roanoke continues to haunt the historical imagination. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Roanoke mystery is the realization that, despite our advances in archaeology and technology, some stories remain hidden, unreachable, lost in the sands of time. How much of history is still shrouded in mystery, its secrets waiting to be uncovered? The case of Roanoke raises that question in the most haunting way. What happened to the settlers? And could there be more forgotten colonies, more lost histories waiting to be found? Only time and perhaps future discoveries can tell. As we shift our focus from the shores of Roanoke to the cradle of civilization itself, ancient Mesopotamia, another mystery unfolds, one that reaches back thousands of years into the heart of one of humanity's earliest and most influential cultures. The Sumerian king list, a remarkable but puzzling artifact, holds the keys to a story of power, longevity, and possibly even forgotten history. But the questions it raises are as profound as the answers it offers. The Sumerian king list is an ancient manuscript thought to have been compiled around 2100 BCE, that lists the kings of Sumer, the early civilization that rose in the Fertile Crescent of modern-day Iraq. This document is not a simple record of names and dates. Instead, it weaves together the stories of rulers who, according to the list, reigned for impossibly long periods, some for tens of thousands of years. It's a striking and enigmatic text, one that challenges our understanding of history and time itself. The list begins with a narrative of gods and divine rule, describing how kingship was passed from the heavens to earth. It tells of the first rulers of Sumer, figures whose names resonate through ancient texts such as Enmeduranki and Etana. According to the list, these kings reigned over a land of unimaginable antiquity, where the boundaries between divine and earthly power seemed to blur. But the real mystery arises as the list transitions from mythical to historical. Here, kings are said to have reigned for extraordinary lengths of time, some for tens of thousands of years, others for hundreds. The most famous example is the reign of Gilgamesh, who, according to the list, ruled for 126 years. But in some versions, he is said to have lived for centuries, blurring the line between legend and reality. The Sumerian king list has been found in various copies across Mesopotamia, but the most complete version comes from the city of Nippur, in modern-day southern Iraq. These lists are carved onto clay tablets, preserved by the sands of time and the preservation efforts of ancient scribes. But when they were rediscovered in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, scholars were stunned by what they found. How could kings have ruled for such unreasonably long periods? Was this a case of poetic exaggeration, or was something more profound at play? Mainstream historians have suggested that the absurdly long reigns in the king list are symbolic, representing the divine right of kings or the perceived eternal nature of their power. In this view, the king's long reigns may have been a way of elevating them above mere mortals, imbuing them with an aura of the divine, or perhaps symbolizing the unbroken continuity of Sumerian civilization itself. However, this explanation leaves many unanswered questions, particularly when we consider how highly detailed the list is in its chronology. Tracking the succession of kings, their cities, and their deeds. In a more speculative realm, some have suggested that the long reigns could indicate something more literal. Could it be that ancient Sumerians had a different concept of time, one that allowed for longer periods of human existence? Perhaps the ancient scribes believed that human beings, under the right conditions, could live for much longer than modern humans do today. Some have even suggested that the list could hint at a lost or forgotten era in which longevity was somehow extended, perhaps through secret knowledge, advanced medicine, or even extraterrestrial influence. These theories often point to other ancient texts that speak of gods or beings with unusually long lives, such as the biblical accounts of patriarchs like Methuselah, whose age at death is given as 969 years. One of the most intriguing elements of the Sumerian king list is the way it blends myth with history. Some of the kings mentioned in the early part of the list are figures who also appear in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known pieces of literature. In the epic, Gilgamesh is portrayed as a semi-divine king who embarks on a journey to find the secret to immortality. Is there a connection between these mythic stories and the historical accounts of the kings listed in the king list? Could the figures described in the Sumerian texts have lived for centuries? Or was this merely a literary device, a way of elevating these leaders to godlike status? There are even more speculative theories that suggest the Sumerians may have had access to knowledge or technologies that allowed for extended lifespans, or that some of these kings were, in fact, members of a long-lived or otherworldly race. These theories, while not supported by mainstream archaeology, continue to captivate those who are drawn to the idea that ancient civilizations might have had access to knowledge far beyond what we currently understand. Could the Sumerians have known something about longevity that we've since lost? But for all the mystery that surrounds the king list, there is a clear historical element that cannot be ignored. The list also provides insight into the development of early Sumerian civilization, tracing the succession of kings from the mythical to the historical. The kings mentioned in the list, though their reigns seem exaggerated, were real figures who ruled over real cities. In fact, many of these kings are referenced in other Sumerian texts, giving them a certain historical validity. The king list also highlights the political landscape of early Mesopotamia, showing how power was passed between dynasties, cities, and regions. However, the question remains, why were the reigns of these early kings recorded in such a fantastical manner? Was it a form of political propaganda, designed to legitimize the authority of a dynasty? Or was there something deeper, a hidden knowledge encoded in these numbers, waiting to be uncovered? As we examine the Sumerian king list, it becomes clear that this ancient document is more than just a record of rulers. It is a gateway into a world that blends history, myth, and perhaps something more. It raises fundamental questions about the nature of time, the divine right of kings, and the mysteries of human existence. And as we look back across the millennia, one thought lingers. What knowledge, what truths, are still hidden in the ancient texts of Sumer? Could the answers lie in the spaces between the kings' names and their impossibly long reigns? Or have we simply yet to grasp the full scope of what these ancient scribes were trying to tell us? From the ancient lands of Sumer, we now move closer to our present day, to the heart of North America, where a mysterious set of monumental earthworks continues to intrigue archaeologists and historians alike. The Cahokia Mounds, located near present-day Collinsville, Illinois, stand as one of the largest and most sophisticated pre-Columbian archaeological sites in the United States. Rising dramatically against the horizon, these ancient mounds are silent sentinels to a lost civilization that once flourished long before European contact. Cahokia, once a thriving urban center, covered an estimated 6 square miles and was home to a vast, complex society. At its height, around 1050 to 1200 CE, it is believed to have had a population of 10,000 to 20,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the world at the time. Today, the site is dominated by a massive central mound known as Monk's Mound, which rises some 100 feet into the air. The scale and design of this mound, along with the dozens of smaller mounds scattered across the landscape, speak to the incredible engineering and organizational skills of the people who built them. Monk's Mound is an awe-inspiring structure. Its sheer size and precision suggest a high level of planning and labor. The mound was constructed in stages, using millions of basket loads of dirt, and it was topped with a platform that likely supported a temple or a residence for the city's elite. From the summit, the view over the once thriving city would have been breathtaking, an expanse of plazas, smaller mounds, and ceremonial centers. It is easy to imagine the hustle and bustle of Cahokia's population, their activities revolving around agriculture, trade, and ritual, yet what we know of them is strikingly limited. Despite its impressive size and significance, Cahokia remains shrouded in mystery. The people who constructed these monumental mounds are referred to as the Mississippian culture, a group known for their sophisticated agricultural practices and complex social structures. Yet little is known about their origins, their customs, or why their civilization seemingly disappeared in the centuries after Cahokia's peak. The decline of Cahokia remains one of the most perplexing aspects of the site's history. By the time European settlers arrived in the region in the 17th century, the city was abandoned, its once vibrant population gone, its great mounds left to stand in silent testimony to a vanished civilization. Mainstream archaeological theories suggest that Cahokia's fall was due to a combination of environmental factors, such as soil depletion and climate change, as well as social and political instability. The Mississippian people were heavily reliant on maize farming, and some believe that overuse of the land, coupled with prolonged droughts, may have led to a collapse in food production, triggering social unrest. Others suggest that warfare or internal strife played a role in the city's downfall, as competing groups may have vied for control of the region. However, these explanations, while plausible, fail to capture the full complexity of Cahokia's story. The city's rise to prominence, its rapid growth and sophisticated architecture, suggests a level of organization and foresight that might have been resistant to the forces of environmental collapse. Was it really the land that brought them down, or was there something else at play, something more enigmatic? For some, the very nature of Cahokia's construction raises questions that challenge conventional understanding. The mounds are not merely simple burial sites or markers of territory. They are intricately designed, often aligned with celestial events like the solstices and equinoxes. It has been suggested that the mounds, especially those surrounding Monk's Mound, served as part of an astronomical or ritualistic system, indicating that the people of Cahokia may have had advanced knowledge of the stars. Could the mounds have been part of a larger ceremonial landscape, one connected to the heavens, that somehow held the key to the city's rise and fall? One of the most intriguing features of Cahokia is its apparent cultural and technological sophistication. The city had complex networks of trade, extending far beyond the Mississippi River Valley, and its influence reached as far as the Great Lakes, the Gulf Coast, and the Great Plains. Cahokia's people built large, well-planned communities, complete with plazas, temples, and other monumental structures. They crafted intricate art, pottery, and tools, and their burial practices suggest a belief in an afterlife and a connection to the cosmos. What drove this flourishing of culture in such a remote location? And how did they acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to build such an impressive society? Some researchers speculate that Cahokia may have been part of a larger, even global network of ancient cultures, sharing knowledge and technologies that have since been forgotten. Could there have been external influences, perhaps from the distant civilizations of Mesoamerica, that played a role in Cahokia's rise? Some even suggest that the scale and complexity of Cahokia's construction techniques might point to knowledge lost to time, or to technologies that were once widespread but have since disappeared. Were there hidden connections between Cahokia and other ancient cultures that we have yet to uncover? Others have proposed that Cahokia was not merely a human creation, but one influenced by supernatural forces. There are fringe theories that suggest the mounds were built under the guidance of beings from beyond the earth, perhaps extraterrestrials or gods who shared advanced knowledge with the Mississippian people. While such theories are speculative and not supported by mainstream archaeology, they nonetheless add to the sense of mystery that surrounds the site. Could Cahokia have been the result of an ancient knowledge transfer, an exchange of secrets from otherworldly beings, or a civilization that was simply too advanced for its time? In addition to these grandiose ideas, more grounded theories also propose that Cahokia may have experienced a social and political breakdown long before environmental factors took hold. Could the city's intricate social structure have eventually imploded under its own weight, leading to the collapse of the urban center? Or was Cahokia abandoned due to external pressures, perhaps from rival tribes or new waves of settlers moving into the region? Today, Cahokia remains one of the most important archaeological sites in North America, yet so much about its culture, its people, and its eventual decline remains a mystery. The mounds that still rise from the earth speak of a people who once reached for greatness, whose achievements were as monumental as the mounds they left behind. But as we stand before these silent monuments, we are left to wonder, what other secrets lie buried beneath the earth at Cahokia? And more importantly, what do they reveal about the people who once called this place home? Perhaps, like the mounds themselves, the answers to these questions will rise slowly over time, waiting to be uncovered. As we journey from the vast mounds of Cahokia to the dense jungles of Costa Rica, we encounter another perplexing enigma, one that has stumped archaeologists for over half a century. There, nestled in the tropical landscape, lie the giant stone balls, a collection of perfectly spherical stones, some weighing several tons, scattered across the Diqui Delta region. These mysterious objects, often referred to as the petrospheres, are an enduring riddle, both in their creation and their purpose. The sight of these massive stones, some reaching over 6 feet in diameter, is striking in its symmetry and size. Smooth and polished, they stand in stark contrast to the surrounding environment, their near-perfect roundness suggesting a level of craftsmanship that seems impossible for the societies of ancient Costa Rica. To the casual observer, it might seem as though the stones are out of place, like an unfinished project or a forgotten relic of a time long past. But they are neither random nor accidental. The sheer precision with which they were made and their widespread distribution across the region indicates that these stones held significance to the people who created them. Most of the stones are found in clusters around the Diqui River, a region once inhabited by the pre-Columbian Diqui culture, which flourished from approximately 300 BCE to 1500 CE. The stones, which vary in size, have been discovered in an area of about 20 square miles. Many are positioned in such a way that suggests they were deliberately placed in specific locations, perhaps to align with celestial events, or as markers of territory or ceremonial significance. Some of these stone balls are found in groups, arranged in formations that evoke a sense of ritual or purposeful design. Others are scattered across the landscape, seemingly placed with no particular order. Despite the fact that thousands of these giant stones have been discovered, relatively few have been excavated or studied in depth. What is known is that the people of the Diquis culture, who are believed to have been part of a larger, interconnected network of pre-Columbian societies in the Americas, left behind no written records to explain the purpose of these stone spheres. This absence of documentation only deepens the mystery. Were they simply decorative objects, or did they serve a more profound, possibly sacred, purpose? The mainstream archaeological consensus offers a few plausible explanations for the origin and use of the stone balls. Many believe the spheres were created as a form of social or political marker, possibly indicating the influence or power of a specific group within the Diki society. Given their size and the effort it would have taken to move and shape them, the balls could have served as symbols of wealth, authority, or territorial dominance. It is also possible that they were used in ceremonial rituals, as they are sometimes found in contexts that suggest they were part of larger sacred sites. The material used to create these stone balls, gabbro, a dense and hard rock, adds another layer of intrigue. The fact that the stones were so perfectly shaped, with such precise roundness, suggests a level of craftsmanship and understanding of stonework that seems beyond the capabilities of the people of the Diki culture. The process of shaping such large stones with such precision would have required advanced tools and techniques, the likes of which have not been conclusively identified in the archaeological record. How, then, did these ancient people manage to shape and carve these massive spheres? Did they have access to tools or methods that have since been lost to time? Some theories suggest that the creation of the stones involved the use of a primitive form of abrasive grinding, in which the stones were slowly smoothed and shaped over generations. Others propose that the Diki's people may have utilized an advanced knowledge of geometry and mathematics, applying techniques passed down through generations, but never recorded in written form. Yet even these theories fail to fully explain the remarkable precision and consistency seen across the site. Could there have been a technological or cultural innovation that has not survived in the archaeological record, or even a method of construction that we have yet to fully understand? And then there are the more speculative explanations, those that push the boundaries of conventional archaeology. Some have suggested that the stone spheres were not the work of the Diki's people at all, but were instead the product of an unknown, more ancient civilization. Could these stones have been created by a long-lost society whose knowledge and capabilities were far more advanced than we give ancient civilizations credit for? And if so, what became of that society? Why were they not recorded in history? Were these giant stones the remnants of a forgotten culture that once spanned the Americas, only to vanish without a trace? Even more fringe theories have emerged, including those that suggest the spheres may have had a purpose far beyond human understanding, perhaps linked to the supernatural or extraterrestrial. The perfect roundness of the stones, combined with their unusual placement, has led some to speculate that they could have been used in some kind of celestial alignment or astronomical observance. Were these stones designed to capture the energy of the Earth or the stars? Some have even proposed that they were placed as markers for extraterrestrial visitors or were intended as a means of communicating with otherworldly beings. While these ideas are far from accepted in mainstream archaeology, they nevertheless add a layer of mystery to the already enigmatic site. The idea that the stones may have had some kind of metaphysical or ritualistic function is perhaps the most enduring of all the theories. There is a growing belief among some researchers that the spheres were symbolic of cosmic forces, representing the sun, the moon, or the stars, elements that played a central role in the belief systems of many ancient cultures. Could the Diki people have seen the stones as representations of celestial bodies, used in ceremonies to honor gods or spirits? Were they part of a ritual calendar, marking important moments in time, such as solstices or equinoxes? Despite the wide array of theories, one thing is clear. The giant stone balls of Costa Rica remain a profound mystery. Their purpose, their creators, and the techniques used to craft them have yet to be fully understood. And as time passes, the stones continue to stand quietly in the jungles of Costa Rica, waiting to reveal their secrets. Could they hold the key to understanding a lost civilization, or perhaps to unlocking knowledge that has been hidden for millennia? As we stand before these massive silent spheres, we are left to ponder. What truths lie hidden within these enigmatic objects, and what will it take to uncover them? Perhaps the answers are still waiting to be discovered, hidden beneath layers of earth and time, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. As we journey further into the mysteries of ancient Egypt, we find ourselves in the isolated desert of the Siwa Oasis, a place that has long been both a refuge and a site of ancient secrets. Here, standing amidst the arid expanse of sand dunes, lies the Temple of the Oracle, one of the most enigmatic and sacred sites of the ancient world. This temple, dedicated to the god Amun, was a place of pilgrimage for many, including some of history's most famous figures, among them Alexander the Great. Yet, despite its significance, the true purpose and the full extent of the knowledge it housed remain shrouded in mystery. The Temple of the Oracle is located at the edge of the Siwa Oasis, a fertile pocket of life in an otherwise harsh, unforgiving desert. The temple's ruins are relatively modest compared to the grandeur of other Egyptian monuments, yet they hold a particular aura of mystery. The site is most famous for its association with the Oracle of Amun, a revered figure who, for centuries, was consulted for answers to the most profound questions, from matters of state to personal destiny. It was here that, in 332 BCE, Alexander the Great sought confirmation of his divine status, hoping to hear from the oracle that he was, indeed, the son of Zeus. The moment when the oracle purportedly acknowledged Alexander as a deity would become one of the defining moments of his reign. The temple itself, though relatively small compared to others in Egypt, is situated in a striking location. Its walls are etched with inscriptions and carvings, many of which remain partially legible today, providing glimpses into the spiritual practices of the ancient Egyptians. However, it is the temple's reputation as an oracle, its ability to offer divine insight, that truly sets it apart from other religious sites. The question, of course, is not simply how an oracle might have functioned, but what made the Oracle of Amun at Siwa so special that it was consulted by some of the greatest figures in history? For many, the answer lies in the belief that the oracle's priests possessed extraordinary spiritual or mystical abilities, allowing them to interpret divine messages with precision. Ancient texts suggest that the oracle's responses were often cryptic and open to interpretation, a quality that many oracles shared, but the words spoken at Siwa seem to have carried a unique weight. In fact, the oracle's power was so well known that it continued to attract visitors from across the ancient world, even after Egypt fell under foreign rule. But how exactly did the Oracle of Amun at Siwa deliver its messages? The most accepted explanation is that the priests of the temple, through rituals or possibly even psychoactive substances, communicated with the gods and interpreted the answers that came through. Some have suggested that the temple itself was designed with acoustics or specific environmental factors that may have induced altered states of consciousness, helping the priests tap into otherworldly knowledge. Could the temple have been intentionally built with certain natural features that facilitated trance-like states, where the priests could more easily commune with the divine? Others have proposed more speculative theories. Some researchers have suggested that the oracle's power may have been linked to a secret, ancient technology or knowledge that was lost over time. Was there a hidden science or practice at Siwa, one based on astronomical alignments or unknown technologies, that allowed the priests to hear the voices of the gods? The temple is strategically positioned, and its surroundings suggest that the ancient Egyptians, and those who followed them, might have known something about the natural world, something related to the forces of the earth and the cosmos that has been forgotten in modern times. The most intriguing question about the temple is not just how it functioned, but why it continued to be a revered site for so long. After Alexander the Great's visit, The Oracle of Amun at Siwa remained important for centuries, even into the Ptolemaic and Roman periods. The site, however, was abandoned over time, and the temple was eventually lost to history. By the time modern explorers began seeking out its ruins, the temple was little more than a set of ruins, half buried in the sand. What then did it take for such a powerful institution to fall into obscurity? Was the oracle's influence simply a reflection of the changing tides of history, or did something more profound cause it to lose its place in the world? One possible answer comes from the idea that, over time, the temple's messages began to shift in meaning, or perhaps in their delivery. Was the Oracle of Amun still able to deliver the answers it once had, or had the rituals and practices that sustained its power been lost or corrupted? Ancient oracles often relied on specific rites and sacred knowledge, which could fall into decay if not passed down correctly. Could this loss of tradition explain why the temple ceased to be as influential as it once was? Another layer to this mystery is the strange geography and topography of the Siwa Oasis itself. Siwa has always been a place of unique geographical features. Its water sources, salt flats, and dense palm groves create an atmosphere that is both remote and isolated. Could these environmental elements have had a role in the oracle's function? There are theories suggesting that certain natural occurrences in the region, such as the presence of high levels of certain minerals, may have contributed to creating altered states of consciousness. Could the natural landscape of Siwa, combined with the spiritual rituals performed at the temple, have formed a unique synergy that heightened the prophetic powers of the oracle? In recent years, the Temple of the Oracle has drawn renewed interest, with archaeologists and researchers uncovering more about its history, its architecture, and its role in ancient Egyptian society. Some suggest that we may never fully understand the true nature of the oracle's power, but as more discoveries are made, perhaps a clearer picture will emerge. What we do know, however, is that the Temple of the Oracle at Siwa holds an enduring place in history, not just for its role in Alexander the Great's journey, but for its connection to a deep and complex spiritual tradition that may hold secrets yet to be uncovered. The mysteries of the oracle remain just that, mysteries. What powers did it hold, and what knowledge was shared in that sacred space? And perhaps more importantly, what remains hidden in the sands of Siwa, waiting to be discovered? As the ruins of the temple continue to stand against the winds of time, the echoes of ancient voices may still be heard, but their full meaning may yet elude us. From the ancient desert temples of Siwa, we now travel west, across the vast plains and arid lands of the American Southwest, to a site that has long captivated the imagination of historians and archaeologists alike, the cliff dwellings of the Anasazi, also known as the ancient Puebloans. These remarkable structures, perched high in the sheer rock faces of the canyons of Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah, stand as both architectural marvels and unsolved mysteries. The Anasazi, a term often used to refer to the ancestral Puebloans, constructed these dwellings in remote cliffs and canyon walls, creating a network of settlements that were as breathtaking as they were enigmatic. The cliff dwellings themselves are scattered across the rugged landscape, hidden away in the sandstone alcoves of the region's deep canyons. Some of these structures are almost surreal in their construction, multi-story buildings carved directly into the rock, with windows and doors seemingly carved by hand, all supported by natural rock formations. One of the most famous examples is Cliff Palace in Colorado's Mesa Verde National Park, where entire communities lived, their homes almost suspended between the rock faces, accessible only by steep ladders or narrow passageways. These cliff dwellings were built using a combination of stone, mortar, and wooden beams, and their precision and stability suggest a sophisticated knowledge of architecture and engineering. At the height of their civilization, the Anasazi were skilled farmers, growing corn, beans, and squash in the desert soil. They built intricate irrigation systems to capture and direct water from the region's seasonal rains, and they traded goods with neighboring cultures. Their ability to thrive in such an unforgiving environment speaks to their resilience and ingenuity. Yet, despite their achievements, the reasons behind their sudden disappearance from the region in the late 12th century remain a profound mystery. The cliff dwellings are often viewed as symbols of the Anasazi's complex relationship with the environment. Some researchers have proposed that these cliffside homes were not simply built for practical reasons, but also for spiritual or defensive ones. The Anasazi may have chosen these remote locations to be closer to the spirits or forces they revered, or to escape from growing conflict with other groups. The natural protection offered by the cliffs could have been crucial during times of instability, but it also suggests that the Anasazi were deeply connected to their surroundings, building structures that harmonized with the land rather than imposing themselves upon it. However, this explanation raises another question. Why did they abandon such an extraordinary way of life? Why did a people so adept at surviving in one of the harshest environments in North America seemingly vanish without a trace? Archaeologists have found evidence of a sudden exodus, with many of the cliff dwellings showing signs of abandonment, and the people disappearing from the region within a few generations. There are no definitive answers, but a number of theories have been proposed to explain this mysterious disappearance. The most widely accepted theory is that a prolonged period of drought may have contributed to the collapse of the Anasazi civilization. Evidence from tree rings, sediment cores, and other environmental data suggests that the region experienced a severe drought around the time of the Anasazi's decline. This lack of water would have made agriculture impossible, and without a reliable water supply, the communities in the cliff dwellings would have been unable to sustain themselves. The agricultural collapse may have led to the abandonment of the settlements as the people sought more hospitable lands where they could survive. Yet, this explanation does not fully account for the sophisticated infrastructure the Anasazi had built over centuries. They had constructed extensive water storage systems, including reservoirs and canals, which allowed them to capture and store rainwater during wetter periods. Could such a resilient people have simply abandoned their homeland due to a lack of water? Was there another factor at play, something deeper or more profound? Some researchers have proposed that social or political instability, such as internal strife or warfare, might have led to the collapse of the Anasazi society. The region was home to numerous groups, and as resources became scarcer, tensions could have escalated. Archaeological evidence does suggest that some Anasazi sites show signs of violence, such as burned buildings and skeletal remains indicating traumatic injuries. Could this social breakdown have led to the mass migration of the people from the cliff dwellings? And if so, where did they go, and why did they leave no record of their departure? Spirit theories have also emerged that suggest a more spiritual or cultural explanation for the Anasazi's disappearance. The Anasazi were a deeply spiritual people, and their religious beliefs were closely tied to the land and the natural world. Some have suggested that the abandonment of the cliff dwellings was not due to environmental collapse or warfare, but to a fundamental shift in their belief system. Perhaps the Anasazi believed that they had lost favor with the gods, and that it was time to leave their ancestral homes in search of a new place, one that might restore balance to their lives. In this theory, the migration was not a response to hardship, but rather an act of spiritual renewal. This theory is further bolstered by the fact that many of the descendants of the Anasazi, such as the Hopi, Zuni, and other Puebloan tribes, continue to inhabit the southwestern United States today. Some believe that these tribes carry with them the spiritual and cultural memory of their ancestors, and that the migration from the cliff dwellings was a crucial part of their collective journey. Were the Anasazi simply moving to new lands to start anew, or was their disappearance part of a larger metaphysical transition? Beyond these explanations, there are more fringe theories that have captured the public's imagination. Some have suggested that the Anasazi may have been visited by extraterrestrials or advanced civilizations, who shared with them knowledge or technology that was lost after their departure. The precision with which the Anasazi constructed their cliff dwellings, combined with their sudden disappearance, has led some to speculate that they may have had access to knowledge beyond their time. Could they have been part of a greater, now forgotten civilization, whose knowledge was too advanced for its era? The Anasazi cliff dwellings remain one of the most intriguing and elusive archaeological mysteries in North America. The ingenuity and resourcefulness of the Anasazi, as well as their remarkable ability to thrive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth, continue to fascinate researchers. Yet, as the wind blows through the canyons where their dwellings once stood, the unanswered questions linger. What drove the Anasazi to abandon their homes? Was it a natural disaster, a social collapse, or something else entirely? And what, if anything, might we still discover hidden in the walls of these ancient cliff dwellings? Secrets waiting to be uncovered in the forgotten corners of the American Southwest. As we leave behind the arid cliffs of the American Southwest, we turn our attention to a quiet, unassuming stretch of farmland in eastern Germany, where another extraordinary ancient mystery awaits. Here, nestled among the fields near the village of Goseck, lies a circular formation that has confounded archaeologists and historians alike for over a century, the Goseck Circle. A site that predates the pyramids of Egypt, the Goseck Circle offers a window into a time when humanity was beginning to chart its place in the cosmos. The Goseck Circle is not a natural formation. It is a man-made structure, built with a level of precision and astronomical awareness that is surprising given the era in which it was constructed. The circle, which is about 75 meters in diameter, consists of a series of concentric ditches and timber posts arranged in a highly specific alignment with the sun. At its core is a ring of massive wooden posts, many of which were arranged in a way that suggests they had a purpose far beyond mere decoration. It's a site that speaks to ancient human ingenuity, yet despite decades of study, much about the Goseck Circle remains a mystery. The site itself is a remarkable feat of ancient engineering. Radiocarbon dating places the construction of the Goseck Circle around 5000 BCE, during the Neolithic period, when human societies were transitioning from hunter-gatherers to settled agricultural communities. The site is thought to have served as a kind of solar observatory or ceremonial center, and the placement of the posts suggests that its creators had a profound understanding of the movements of the sun. In fact, the structure is aligned with the winter solstice, with the central posts framing the path of the sun as it rises and sets on the shortest day of the year. On this day, the rising and setting of the sun align perfectly with the openings in the structure, casting long shadows across the earth. This precise solar alignment raises a tantalizing question. How did the people of 5000 BCE possess such sophisticated knowledge of the sun's cycles? The ability to predict and mark the solstices would have been crucial for early agricultural societies, as it allowed them to determine the best times to plant and harvest crops. But the sheer complexity of the Goseck Circle suggests that it may have served other purposes as well, perhaps as a ritual site, a place where the movements of the heavens were interpreted as messages from the gods. The idea that the Goseck Circle was a kind of calendar has been widely accepted among archaeologists. It is believed that the circle may have helped Neolithic farmers mark the passage of time, assisting in agricultural planning. The orientation of the circle and the positioning of the wooden posts seem to mirror those of other ancient sites with similar astronomical alignments, such as Stonehenge in England and the megalithic structures at Karnak in France. But what sets the Goseck Circle apart is its age. While other famous ancient structures are believed to have been built by more complex societies, the Goseck Circle predates many of them by several thousand years, suggesting that its creators possessed a level of astronomical sophistication that we typically associate with much later civilizations. Yet, despite its significance, many aspects of the Goseck Circle remain unexplained. What exactly did its builders believe about the movements of the sun? Was the site a purely utilitarian tool for tracking time, or did it hold a deeper, more spiritual significance? Some researchers have suggested that the Goseck Circle was not just a calendar, but also a ritual site, where ancient people gathered to perform ceremonies in honor of the sun and other celestial bodies. The alignment of the circle with the solstice could have been symbolic, representing the rebirth of the sun or the cyclical nature of life and death. The Goseck Circle could have been a place where ancient communities came together to celebrate the turning of the seasons, to mark the death of the old year and the birth of the new. There is also the possibility that the site had a more complex cosmological purpose. Could the Goseck Circle have been a site for astronomical observation? Perhaps one of the first of its kind? The level of precision involved in its construction suggests that the people who built it had a profound understanding of the natural world and the sky above. Some have even speculated that the site could have been used to track other celestial events, such as eclipses or the movements of the stars. The ancient peoples who constructed the Goseck Circle may have been using the site not only for practical purposes, but also to connect with a deeper cosmic understanding of the universe. Was the Goseck Circle a primitive form of a star calendar designed to align with the heavens as much as with the sun? Theories surrounding the purpose of the Goseck Circle, however, stretch beyond the bounds of conventional archaeology. Some have suggested that the circle was not just a human creation, but that it may have been influenced by external forces, whether by contact with other ancient civilizations or by some form of knowledge passed down from forgotten ancestors. The idea of ancient knowledge being passed through secret societies or long-lost civilizations has long been a popular subject in fringe theories, and the Goseck Circle, with its advanced astronomical knowledge, has often been linked to such ideas. Could the builders of the Goseck Circle have been the inheritors of a forgotten tradition passed down through generations, or was the site itself a gift of some otherworldly origin? Still, despite these more speculative theories, it's important to recognize the extraordinary achievement that the Goseck Circle represents. The idea that ancient people, living in a time before written records, before the wheel and before the rise of great empires, could conceive of and construct a site so intricately aligned with the sun's movements is a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of early human societies. But as with many ancient sites, the true meaning of the Goseck Circle remains elusive. It may have been a simple agricultural tool, a ceremonial center, or even a cosmic observatory. We can only guess at the full scope of its purpose and its significance to the people who built it. As researchers continue to study the site, new discoveries may yet shed light on its true meaning. But for now, the Goseck Circle stands as a powerful reminder of the ancient human desire to understand and align with the rhythms of the natural world, a mystery etched into the earth itself, waiting to reveal its secrets. And as we look out over the fields surrounding the circle, one question lingers. What other ancient truths might be hidden beneath the soil, waiting for us to uncover them? From the ancient stone circles of Goseck to the timeless cliffs of the American Southwest, we've ventured deep into the past, uncovering sites that speak to humanity's relationship with the natural world. But now, we shift our focus to a different kind of landscape, a realm that exists beneath the earth itself. In the heart of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, hidden beneath dense jungle canopies, lies a network of caves and cenotes that once served as gateways to the Mayan underworld, a place of darkness, mystery, and profound spiritual significance. The Mayan caves, known as Xibalba, a word that, in the Mayan language, refers to the underworld, are not simply geological formations. These caves were sacred spaces, deeply embedded in Mayan cosmology and religion. Their jagged stalactites and eerie, winding passages were seen as portals to a world beyond the living, a domain where gods and spirits resided. To the ancient Maya, the act of entering these caves was no small matter. It was a journey of both physical and spiritual transformation, often associated with rituals of life, death, and rebirth. One of the most famous of these caves is the sacred cenote at Chichen Itza, a vast sinkhole that plunges deep into the earth. Surrounded by steep walls of limestone, the cenote is a site of great historical significance. It is here that the Maya performed elaborate rituals, offering human sacrifices to the rain god Chak in the hopes of ensuring bountiful harvests. The water of the cenote, dark and still, was believed to be a direct connection to the underworld itself, a gateway through which the spirits could cross between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. Yet, Chichen Itza is just one part of a much larger and more complex system of caves, many of which remain largely unexplored. Venture further into the Yucatan, and you'll find other equally mysterious caves. The cave of Balam Kanche, for example, is a place where human remains, ceramic artifacts, and remnants of rituals have been uncovered. The walls of Balam Kanche are decorated with carvings and paintings depicting Mayan deities and supernatural beings, while the floor is strewn with offerings, some of which date back over 1,000 years. This site, like many others, hints at a rich and complex belief system that was intricately tied to the underworld. To the Maya, the caves were not merely physical locations. They were liminal spaces, places where the boundaries between the living and the dead, the earthly and the divine, became porous and fluid. But it's not just the archaeological findings that make these caves so intriguing. It's the strange, often inexplicable aspects of these sacred sites that continue to captivate researchers. Take, for instance, the ritual sacrifices that took place within these caves. While many ancient civilizations practiced offerings to the gods, the Maya's use of caves as sites for human sacrifice is particularly noteworthy. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of offerings that include both material goods and human remains, suggesting that these rituals were meant to honor or appease the gods in a dramatic and profound way. In some cases, the sacrifices were linked to celestial events, such as eclipses, and were thought to ensure balance and harmony between the world of the living and the supernatural realms. One of the more striking features of these caves is their alignment with celestial events. The Maya, renowned for their advanced understanding of astronomy, often built their temples and sacred sites to align with the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. The caves were no different. Some researchers believe that certain caves, like those at Aktun, Tunichil Muknal, and Balam Kanche, were specifically chosen because of their connection to astronomical events, such as solstices or planetary movements. The position of the caves, combined with the timing of the rituals conducted within them, may have been tied to Mayan calendars and their understanding of time as a cyclical, interconnected force. But while mainstream archaeology has made strides in uncovering the significance of these caves, there are still many unanswered questions. The fact that these caves have remained largely unexplored adds to their allure and mystique. What other secrets do they hold? Could there be even older, undiscovered sites that contain information about Mayan religious practices and beliefs that we are only beginning to understand? As we delve deeper into these mysteries, we also encounter more speculative ideas. Some believe that the Maya's use of caves was not solely for religious rituals, but also for an entirely different purpose. The suggestion that these caves might have been places of initiation or transformation is not new, but it raises interesting possibilities. Could the Maya have used these caves as a sort of sacred temple of the soul, where initiates underwent physical or spiritual trials that would prepare them for roles of leadership or religious service? Were these caves more than just physical spaces? They were training grounds for the soul, places where the Maya sought to commune with the gods and the spirits of the underworld in a very real, tangible way. Others have pointed to the possibility that the Maya's knowledge of these caves and their significance was far more profound than we can imagine. Could the caves have been seen as a sort of time capsule, storing knowledge of the natural world, the cosmos, and the very essence of existence itself? Some even speculate that the caves, with their dark, mysterious passages, could represent a kind of gateway to other dimensions or planes of reality. In this view, the Maya didn't just see the caves as places for physical sacrifice, but as a method of entering into other realms of consciousness, where time and space were more fluid, and where the gods were believed to walk among the living. These more fringe ideas, while speculative, underscore the profound connection between the Maya and the mystical, otherworldly forces they believed to govern the universe. The caves were not merely physical locations. They were spiritual realms, where the boundaries between the living and the dead, the known and the unknown, were blurred. Could it be that the Maya understood the forces of nature and the cosmos in ways that modern science has yet to uncover? Could the caves contain knowledge that is waiting to be rediscovered? As we stand at the mouth of these ancient cave systems, gazing into the darkness, we are left with more questions than answers. What did the Maya truly believe about the underworld and the spiritual forces that governed their world? How much of their ancient wisdom was tied to the caves, and what secrets might still lie buried within their depths, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? The Mayan underworld caves remain a profound and enduring mystery, a space where the past and the present meet, and where the boundaries between the living and the dead seem to blur. As archaeologists continue to uncover more about these sacred sites, one thing is certain: the mysteries of Xibalba are far from being fully understood, be uncovered. From the depths of Mexico's underworld caves, we now turn our attention to the arid deserts of Egypt, where another ancient enigma waits to be uncovered. In the shadow of the towering Nile and the grandeur of the pyramids, there exists a place that defies easy explanation: Nabta Playa. Situated in the southern Egyptian desert, far from the familiar monuments of ancient Egypt, Nabta Playa is an archaeological site that has puzzled researchers for decades. Hidden within the rocky expanse of the Nubian desert, it is a place that evokes both awe and intrigue, and holds secrets that may challenge what we know about early human civilization. The landscape of Nabta Playa is an otherworldly one, an expanse of flat desert, dotted with large weathered stones and framed by rocky outcrops that rise like silent sentinels over the plain. At first glance, it appears to be just another barren stretch of land. But as you approach the site, you begin to see the first signs of something far more significant: a collection of stone structures, some large, some small, scattered across the desert floor in deliberate patterns. These are the remnants of an ancient ceremonial complex that dates back over 5,000 years, far older than the pyramids of Giza and nearly contemporary with the early stages of Stonehenge in Europe. What sets Nabta Playa apart from other megalithic sites is the sheer mystery of its construction and purpose. The site consists of large stone circles, rows of standing stones, and menhirs, some arranged with incredible precision. The most striking feature is a stone circle, believed to have once stood as high as 3 meters, with stones arranged in such a way that they align with the movements of the sun and the stars. This stone circle is often referred to as Africa's Stonehenge, but it is unique in its geographical and cultural context. Unlike its British counterpart, which is situated in a temperate climate, Nabta Playa lies in the heart of the desert, where the land is harsh and unforgiving. The stone structures here are also far older, dating back to around 5000 BCE, predating both Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids. The most widely accepted theory about the site's function is that it served as an ancient astronomical observatory. Much like the builders of Stonehenge, the people of Nabta Playa seem to have had a deep understanding of the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. The arrangement of the stones suggests that the site was used to mark the solstices and equinoxes, helping the ancient inhabitants track the cycles of time and the changing seasons. This would have been crucial for early agricultural societies, who relied on celestial events to plan their planting and harvesting. The stones, especially the large standing ones, are thought to have been used to observe the rising and setting positions of celestial bodies, helping to structure the lives of the people who lived here. Yet, despite this mainstream explanation, there are many unanswered questions about the exact nature of Nabta Playa. Who were the people who built these structures, and what drove them to construct such an intricate astronomical complex in such a desolate and isolated region? The site is located far from the fertile banks of the Nile River, in a part of Egypt that was not a center of civilization at the time. While the Egyptians built their monumental structures closer to the river, Nabta Playa seems to have been a remote outpost, a place where a different, perhaps even earlier culture thrived. The people of Nabta Playa may have had no direct connection to the pharaohs of Egypt, yet they constructed a site that exhibits a sophisticated knowledge of astronomy and geometry, hinting at a highly developed society that has left little trace elsewhere in the archaeological record. The stone circles at Nabta Playa are also highly unusual in that they exhibit clear signs of having been deliberately positioned to align with celestial events. One of the most remarkable features is a set of large stones that form an alignment pointing toward the summer solstice sunrise. These stones would have framed the rising sun at a specific time of year, suggesting that the people who built Nabta Playa were keen observers of the sky and understood the significance of the solar and lunar cycles. But what purpose did these alignments serve? Were they part of a larger religious or spiritual practice? Perhaps a way of honoring the forces of nature? Or were they purely utilitarian, used to track time and mark the changing seasons? Interestingly, some researchers have suggested that the site's purpose might have extended beyond the realm of astronomy, and the stone circles and alignments could have served a more ceremonial function, perhaps a site for rituals or social gatherings. The arrangement of the stones at Nabta Playa may reflect a worldview in which the cosmos, the earth, and human society were deeply interconnected. In this view, the site wasn't just a calendar or observatory, but a sacred space where people could align themselves with the movements of the stars and the rhythms of nature. Even more intriguing are the speculative theories that have arisen around Nabta Playa. Some researchers suggest that the site could be the product of an ancient civilization that predated known cultures such as the Egyptians or Sumerians. Was Nabta Playa the work of a long-lost civilization, one that left behind no other monuments or traces of its existence? Could it be that the builders of Nabta Playa were connected to the mysterious lost cultures of prehistory, those whose knowledge and achievements have been erased by time? Some have even proposed that the knowledge embedded in the stone structures of Nabta Playa could have been shared across ancient cultures, reaching as far as Europe, where similar megalithic sites like Stonehenge were constructed. The mystery of Nabta Playa is compounded by the lack of definitive evidence about who the builders were or how the site was used. While it is clear that the site served a significant role in marking the passage of time, its full significance remains elusive. Could it have been a place of pilgrimage, where ancient peoples traveled from distant regions to observe the stars and seek spiritual enlightenment? Or perhaps it was a center for astronomical research, where a select group of individuals studied the heavens and passed their knowledge down through generations? As archaeologists continue to study Nabta Playa, new discoveries are slowly beginning to shed light on this ancient site. But even with modern tools and technology, much remains unknown. The stone structures that dot the desert floor continue to stand silent and enigmatic as the sun rises and sets above them, just as it did millennia ago. In the vast expanse of the desert, where the winds whisper through the stones, one question persists. What secrets of ancient knowledge and human endeavor might still be buried beneath the sands of Nabta Playa, waiting to be uncovered? From the desolate desert expanse of Nabta Playa, we now return to the familiar sands of Giza, where the towering pyramids stand as eternal sentinels of an ancient civilization. Yet, just beyond the grandeur of these iconic monuments, there lies another mystery, buried deep within the heart of Egypt's spiritual landscape. A mystery that has intrigued archaeologists, historians, and explorers for centuries. The tomb of Osiris. Osiris, the god of the afterlife, rebirth, and resurrection, holds a central place in Egyptian mythology. He is often depicted as a king who was slain by his brother Set, only to be resurrected by his wife, Isis, and son, Horus. This cycle of death and rebirth became the foundation of Egypt's beliefs about the afterlife. The story of Osiris was not just myth, it was a guiding principle for how the ancient Egyptians viewed their own lives and deaths. It is said that Osiris's tomb was hidden in the sands of Giza, a sacred place known only to a select few. Yet, despite the passage of millennia, no physical evidence of this tomb has ever been definitively found, giving rise to one of the most enduring mysteries of Egyptian archaeology. The legend surrounding the tomb of Osiris is filled with contradictions and mysteries. Ancient texts, such as the pyramid texts and the coffin texts, reference the tomb, but they offer little in the way of concrete details. Some believe the tomb was a real, physical location, buried somewhere beneath the Giza plateau, while others suggest it may be purely symbolic, an expression of the god's eternal reign over the afterlife. If the tomb exists, it has never been definitively discovered, and the search for it has captivated explorers, archaeologists, and even treasure hunters for centuries. The most compelling clues seem to lie within the very geography of Giza itself. According to some ancient accounts, Osiris's tomb was located near the pyramids, perhaps even beneath them, suggesting that the site of the tomb holds far more significance than just the resting place of pharaohs. Some scholars have posited that the Great Pyramid itself may have been constructed not just as a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu, but as a symbolic representation of Osiris's tomb, blending the mortal and divine realms. The pyramids, with their mysterious alignments and hidden chambers, could well be imbued with deeper spiritual meaning, a connection to Osiris's death and resurrection. But what if the tomb is not where we expect it to be? Over the years, several alternative theories have emerged regarding its location. Some suggest that Osiris's tomb is hidden beneath the Sphinx, that enigmatic figure sitting on the Giza plateau, its massive paws guarding a space that has been explored only in part. The idea that the Sphinx may hold the key to the location of Osiris's tomb has captured the imaginations of many, especially since the Sphinx itself is thought to predate the pyramids and may have once been a place of great ritual importance. Could it be that the tomb of Osiris is hidden in the labyrinthine chambers beneath the Sphinx, yet to be discovered? Or is the Sphinx itself somehow a representation of Osiris, an enduring symbol of life and death, its secrets buried in the sand? The concept of a hidden tomb beneath the Sphinx is not without controversy. While some believe that the Sphinx was built as part of a larger complex dedicated to Osiris, others argue that there is no definitive evidence to support this claim. Recent excavations around the Sphinx have failed to uncover any solid evidence of a hidden tomb beneath it, though this has done little to dissuade those who believe that a great mystery still lies hidden, waiting to be unearthed. The Sphinx remains as enigmatic as ever, its weathered face staring out across the desert in silent contemplation, as if holding the key to a long-forgotten secret. Beyond the possibility of hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx, there are also those who speculate that the tomb of Osiris may lie elsewhere on the Giza plateau, or perhaps even farther afield. Some researchers have suggested that the location of Osiris's tomb was deliberately obscured by the ancient Egyptians to protect it from tomb robbers or desecration. If the tomb of Osiris was a sacred site of great importance, then it is possible that its exact location was known only to a select group of priests or initiates who guarded its secrets with great care. Could it be that the tomb of Osiris still lies undisturbed, waiting to be uncovered by future generations of archaeologists? Or has it already been found and hidden once more, its secrets sealed away for eternity? As with many aspects of ancient Egypt, the mystery surrounding Osiris's tomb raises as many questions as it answers. Was it a real physical tomb, hidden away somewhere on the Giza plateau? Or was it a symbolic space, representing Osiris's eternal rule over the afterlife and the cycle of life and death? If the tomb was real, why has it not been found after so many years of searching? And what would its discovery reveal about the ancient Egyptian worldview and their understanding of death, resurrection, and the afterlife? Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the search for Osiris's tomb is the deep connection it reveals between the ancient Egyptians and their beliefs about the cosmos, life, and death. Osiris, as a god of rebirth, was intimately tied to the cycles of nature, and his tomb may have been more than just a place of burial. It may have been a symbolic representation of the eternal cycle of life and death, the constant renewal of life that is a cornerstone of Egyptian spiritual beliefs. In this sense, the search for Osiris's tomb may not just be about uncovering a physical site, but about exploring the deeper philosophical and spiritual questions that have preoccupied humanity for millennia. As we continue to study the mysteries of Giza, the tomb of Osiris stands as a powerful reminder of the profound connection between the living and the dead in ancient Egyptian thought. Whether it is a real tomb or a symbolic site, the mystery of Osiris's resting place remains one of the most enduring and elusive in archaeology. The sands of Giza still hold many secrets, and as long as we search, we must ask, what truths about life, death, and the divine may yet be hidden beneath these ancient stones?